Welcome everyone back to our channel. I want to thank everyone for watching the videos that you have watched of ours. Today's video is going to be a little different. Today's video is just going to be me. And on today's video, we're going to talk, well, not talk, but I'm going to tell you some stories about my childhood. Now, the stories I'm going to be telling you are, well, in my family, we laugh about. And I want to tell these stories and see what you people think, what everyone else thinks of these videos. These stories. So to begin with, the first story I'm going to tell you about is a very old story. Now this story happened probably back when I was 8 years old. I was very young. And at this time, every summer, me, my brother, my mom and dad, we would all go up to our family's camp where my grandmother and my great-grandmother lived for at least a week in the summertime. And whenever we would go up there, we would go fishing. Now, at this time, we would fish in a pontoon boat. And whenever we would go fishing, my father would always have to put the worm on my hook and my brother's. Because, to be perfectly honest, there was no way I was going to touch one of those slimy things. Ew. But at the same time, whenever we would fish, my father would always give me and my brother the same fishing rods. And at this point, most of the time my father would hand me the kitty fishing rod. And if you don't know what that is, it's one of those old plastic, shitty looking fishing rods, you know, with the green, with the trigger on the top they have to let go to let the fishing line go out. You know, something that you just don't want to be seen using. But as we would fish, my father would put the fish on the hook and he would tell us, okay, now you got to go out there and cast the line. And unfortunately, since me and my brother, we only fished when we were up at the cottage. So it was once a year for maybe 3 or 4 days we would fish for. And that was the only fishing we did for the year. So we were not that good at casting a fishing line out. So to begin, whenever you would cast out a line with those old shitty plastic ones, you would have to eject the line, hit the trigger, and let the line go out. Well, unfortunately, me and my brother, we were not good at that. So to the first probably 4 or 5 casts, it wouldn't do that. We thought we would let it go, and we would smack the side of the pontoon boat, and you'd hear a beautiful echo of metal to metal. Bong! And literally at that point, the line would eject and go right beside the boat. And me and my brother would stand there probably for about 30 seconds just going, yay. And at the same time, my father would come over to us and go, stop doing that and cast the line out. Okay. So we would do it again. And like I said, for the first 6 times, bong, we would do that. So after about the 6th time, we would finally get the hang of it and we would be able to cast it out. Now, me and my brother each had our own fishing rods. Our dad had his. So once we got the knack of casting it out there, it no longer became fishing. It was all about who could cast the line out further, me or my brother. Now, most of the time, my brother would win because he was older than me and he was stronger. So he could easily get the line to go out further than I could. And around this time, my father also started to let us use what I called the big boy fishing rod. You know, it wasn't a plastic, crappy one. It was a normal fishing rod. So finally, one day, we're out fishing. He hands me the fishing rod, and I'm all excited. You know, he's put new line onto it. It's one of my first times to use this fishing rod, and I'm so excited. And my brother has his own it as well with new line. And and at this time we've got the knack of casting it out there. And we would cast out and we would reel it in really fast and then cast it back out. And my father would always say, well, don't reel it in so fast. You're not going to catch a fish. To be perfectly honest, me and my brother were not focused on catching a fish. We were more focused on outdoing one another. So at one point, my brother cast. Now he got a pretty good cast, and I thought, okay, you know what? I'm gonna beat you. This is gonna be like the best cast I've ever done, and it was. I literally took a run out to the end of the boat, and I let the line go, and I did a better cast than any professional fisherman ever did on any friggin' TV show. And I cast the line out, and I lost where I couldn't see if it hit the water or anything. So I started reeling it in, and it started to get tight. And I thought, oh my God, I actually caught a fish. So I'm reeling it in, and I'm cranking it out. I tell my father I got a fish, and he's like, okay, well, keep reeling it in, and when it gets closer, let me know, and I'll help you. Okay. So I'm reeling it in, and I'm letting it go. And suddenly, after a while, I'm really struggling. And you can literally see the fishing rod. It looks like a J in my hand as I'm just wrestling with it, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is a really big fish. And my brother goes, I don't think that's a fish. And my grandmother pipes up and goes, say, did someone put the anchor down on the boat? And my dad goes, well, yeah, I did. Why? And she goes, well, I think we're moving. And Dad goes, oh, it's probably the wind. And she goes, well, no, we're moving against the water. So my dad looks over the side. I'm still cranking on it. And he goes, we are moving. So he comes walking over to me and he goes, give me that fishing rod. So I wrestle it over to him and give it to him. And he starts really just yanking on it. And as he's doing it, he's looking over and he's going, you're moving the boat. Now, I don't know how this is happening because the line, to me, should have broke. But it hasn't. And as he's doing it, suddenly my mother pipes up and goes, I think that tree's moving over there on land. My dad laughs and goes, oh, you're silly. And so he does it a couple more times and he looks over and he goes, I think that tree is moving because of me. So, to end that story, I am the only person in my family who's ever cast a line out and caught land with a fishing rod and literally started to tow a pontoon boat with the anchor down across a lake. Yeah, I'm that idiot. So, to move on from that story, because if that's not good enough, we then go to winter, around that same time of year. Now, where I live, when I was growing up, we had a beautiful property and a very long driveway. And on each side of the driveway were two farming fields that our neighbor used to bale for hay. Now, at that same time, my mother was obsessed with bingo. Now, if anyone knows Bingo, who lives where I used to live on the island, Bingo was from like 10 to like, from like 6 to 10 or 10 to 11. And it was 3 times a week. Now, my mother only usually ever went Sundays. So, every Sunday she would go out to Bingo. When Bingo ended, she would sit around, talk with her friends, have a smoke, and then drive home. And that was fine. However, in the winter time, whenever she would drive home, she would drive down our road, which was pretty much an ice rink, and instead of driving slowly like most people would, she believed that meant drive faster. So as she would accelerate to Mach 1 going down our road, she would see our driveway and literally put her foot on the brake, lock the car up, try to turn on ice, and the car would turn maybe a little, not much. And at that point, she would literally hit the snowbank at the end of our driveway, go slightly into the air, land into the field where the snow was, and like most people, like some people, they would go, okay, that means put the brakes on and stop. No, not my mother. That meant to her accelerate, drive through the field, because she's thinking, if I can drive through the field up towards the house and go back onto the driveway and back it into the garage, I'm good. Well, that never happened. Not once. So she would get stuck in pretty much the middle of this field, walk up to the house, walk into the house, and look at my father at about midnight and go, I'm stuck, you gotta go get me. And she would sit down on the back porch, light up a cigarette, and go, my father would walk out and go, what do you mean you're stuck? Yeah, I'm stuck out there, you gotta get me. He goes, well, how far are you off the driveway? Oh, not very far. So he would poke his head out, look down the driveway, and he wouldn't see her. Well, where's the car? Oh, it's just off the driveway. Well, I don't see it. So he would start walking out a little ways from the house, look over, and see the car in the middle of the field. Now, when I say middle of the field, I don't mean she was like 20 feet off the driveway. I mean she was, well, imagine a hydro poles. You know, you got a hydro pole, hydro pole, hydro pole. Those three hydro poles in the standard length that they are, that's how far off she was off the driveway in the middle of a field. And it was always midnight, and it was pretty much guaranteed to be snowing. So my father would walk up, walk back into the house, look at my mother, and go, why did you stop? And she thought, and she would say, oh, because I thought I could race through the field and get back up to the house. So my father wouldn't say a word. He would walk to the stairs, walk upstairs, has to get changed, and at the same time he would yell for me and my brother. And it was a simple call. Kids, your mother's stuck again. And at the very same time, he would get the same response from me and my brother he would always get, which was, oh man, not again. Yep. So we would get up slowly, get our stuff on, walk out the house, look down, and see where she was. And that's when me and Ryan realized, oh shit. Because at this time, we didn't have a ATV or a tractor or a pickup truck that could go out there and hook onto and pull around. We literally had to go down there with shovels, walk down there, shovel out the car, back it up about 5 feet or so, then all get back in the car because the car would be running because we would keep the heat on for all of us. So we would all pretty much take turns, you know. Me and my brother would be shoveling while my dad would be in the car, back it up. Then I would get in the car, stay warm while my dad and brother were outside shoveling, and my brother would get in, I would get out and shovel. We were back up and we thought, okay, we're doing pretty good. Until we get near the end. That's when we realized, oh, Mom caught air. Now, at the same time, the end of the driveway was being cleaned out by our neighbor with his tractor. So we had a snowdrift about this high at the time. And it was, I don't know, from probably 10 feet, 15 feet of that high snow just packed. That we now had to shovel through the entire length to get the car up onto our driveway. Thanks, Mom. And as we got there, we then realized, oh, great. Now we have to get the car up the driveway. And chances are, and I shouldn't say chances, guaranteed we'd have to shovel it up the driveway. So we would finally shovel the car up there. Me and my brother would crawl our asses into the house. My father would walk. And my mother would literally look at me and my brother and go, okay, kids, get your stuff up. You got to go to bed. You got to go get ready for school tomorrow. And my father would literally look at my mother and go, no. They've been up for, and this is not kidding, for about 2 hours they've been up shoveling and humping their asses to get your car unstuck. They're not going to school. Kids go in there, grab some hot chocolate, grab something to eat because you're probably starving. And then we would do that, and he would sit up there and talk to my mother and go, next time that happens, put the brakes on. Stop doing that. Not that that conversation ever worked, because for pretty much, probably for the first 2 years, that happened every Sunday in the wintertime. Me and my brother were pretty much guaranteed that we weren't going to school Mondays. So it was getting to the point where we would literally on a Sunday, when our father said, oh, you got to go to school, it's tomorrow's Monday, school, you got to go to bed. We would literally look at our father and go, it's snowing outside, Mom's going to get stuck. And he would literally look outside and go, yeah, it's a bad storm, forget about it, you might as well stay up. And we would. Because guaranteed, a few hours later, in comes our mother walking in and goes, I'm stuck, I'm just off the driveway. We'd go back out, look out the windows and go, no you're not, you're in the middle of the field again. Thanks, Mom. And that happened for years, until finally my dad came up with the idea to put stakes down the driveway that would literally shine at night whenever lights hit it. So it kind of gave my mom a warning to slow down. So she wouldn't, and that pretty much stopped her going into the field. Now, not saying that she didn't go into the field still, but it was way less. Now, to move to another story about that, there was another incident where my mom literally drove off the driveway between two stakes that we had. Beautiful aim. And this time she was literally just off the driveway. She was maybe 10 feet off the driveway, stuck in the snow. And my father came up, looked at that and thought, well, and happily at this time it was daylight. So the sun was out, we could see, we had all day to do this. So my dad looked at that and thought, well, I can get her out. I'll go get my truck and I'll go off the driveway and I'll drive around her, hook her up to my truck and drag her out. Now, why he didn't want to go down the driveway and follow her path, I don't know. You'd have to ask him. Chances are it's probably because she caught air again. I can't quite remember that part. But I do remember that my father walked out onto the snow, jumped a couple times and went, oh, this snow is solid. I can drive across this with my pickup truck. And of course, me and my brother are young. And we thought, yeah, Dad, that's genius. So my dad goes up, hops into his truck. Now, I should also clarify, when I say his truck, I don't mean he had an F-150 or a Chevy Silverado or a Dodge Ram 1500. He had a Chevy S10. Now, if you don't know what a Chevy S10 is, look at today's version of a Ford Ranger or a GMC Canyon or a Colorado. That's what the S10 was. And that's what my father called his truck. So my father gets into his truck, drives down the driveway, accelerates, whips off the driveway, he hits the snow, and for the first little bit, it actually does hold him up. And as he goes around my mother, the snow breaks. and his truck just drops. Now, at this time, my father's accelerating, trying to get out, and he can't. So my father winds down the window and says, well, I guess the snow wasn't as hard as I thought. I guess now we're both stuck. Well, thank you very much, Dad. So my dad looks at me and my brother and goes, well, go grab the shovels because now we're both stuck. All right. So me and my brother walk up, grab the shovels, start walking down, and just then our neighbor, who is a great person, and we're still neighbors with, my father is. He's a great man. He owns a farm. So he came driving by in his pickup truck. And he saw what was going on. He drove up our driveway. And he stopped us to talk to my father. And he asked my father, I see you're stuck. Do you need some help? And my father goes, oh, any help you can give me. Because at that time, my father was thinking, oh, he's going to go back get one of his tractors. And he, like I said, he works on a farm, so he has big, huge, monster tractors he has. And that's what he said. And my neighbor goes, oh, no. I just bought this brand new GMC truck, 4-wheel drive. I just bought it, brand new. I want to test the 4-wheel drive out. Do you mind if I do that with you? He goes, if I get stuck, I'll go get one of my tractors. Sure. Well, that was the first time we've ever seen a truck that had 4-wheel drive. My father never owned a truck that had 4-wheel drive, so we didn't know what that meant, me and my brother. So my neighbor puts it in 4-wheel drive, drives off our driveway into this field, and he's whipping through that field like it's nothing. And he hooks up to my dad's truck and pulls out my dad's truck, easy as could be. Goes back in, new path through the snow, because again, he's testing out his 4-wheel drive. He hooks up to my mom's car, pulls it out, pulls it back up onto the driveway, and my neighbor's like, oh, he goes, I love 4-wheel drive, it's amazing. And my father goes, yeah, it really is. He goes, I need to get something like that. Now, my father never did, because, well, you'll have to ask him on that one, because I honestly don't know. So, after that, that winter ended, and my father finally decided, okay, I got this stakes. I need to get myself a tractor. And we thought, oh, that would be fantastic. Now, me and my brother are thinking, oh, he's going to go get a tractor like my neighbor has, like on the farm. But my father said, oh, no, there's a guy that I know that sells used tractors. Oh, okay, whatever. So he goes off, he buys a tractor, he brings it home, and it's an old tractor. It was an old David Brown, 80 horsepower. Hated the winter, this tractor. Hated it. Absolutely hated the winter. You could pretty much guarantee that when winter came around, you'd go through a can of quick start, or what some might know, ether in a winter time, because you'd pretty much get the can pointed at the intake for the engine for air, and you'd pretty much just hold the can there, trying to start this up. Now, at the same time, my father had this tractor inside of an old shed. And in order to get the tractor in and out, we had to take the muffler off, because it went on top. Then we had to take that off, because it couldn't go through the door. So, finally, my father did it, and it was one of the first winters, and he's doing that, and my father's doing this. And it was pretty much guaranteed that when he did that, he would always look at me and Ryan go run out of the building. Because it would get covered in black silt, and the tractor would come out, my father would be out there going, and you would look at us and go, get back, idiot, that stuff will make you sick. Yeah, that's why you're up there puking now, I guess, eh, Dad? So that was the one, first tractor, and we had that for years. It was in the wintertime, it was terrible. Other than that, all the other seasons, it was fun. And once you got the tractor started and going in the wintertime, she'd go through anything. There was nothing that would stop her. So after that, it pretty much got to the point where whenever one of us got stuck with a car, Dad would just grab the tractor and pull it out. Except for one time. There was one time my mom got stuck, again, my mother, got stuck smack dab in the middle of the driveway. Now, she got stuck and she wasn't in that much snow. It was mostly, she just was on ice and she couldn't quite get herself free. So my dad came up with the brilliant idea and said, well, I have the snowmobile out right now with the kids. You know, we're on the GT. He's pulling us around. My dad goes, well, I'll just hook you up to the snowmobile and I'll pull you out. It's not that deep. And it wasn't. It wasn't that deep. She was just stuck on ice. So he backed up the snowmobile. Now, hooked up the chain to the car, sat me on the back of the snowmobile and said, okay, when your mother gets moving, let me know, because then I'll stop, because that means she's free and she can go up on her own self, on her own power. Okay, Dad, no problem. So he took up the slack, and once he took up the slack, he gunned it, trying to get her free. Now, I want you to imagine this picture. If any of you have ever seen Jurassic Park, The Lost World, if any of you have ever seen that part where the one guy has his car hooked up to the RV that's going over the cliff, and he's trying to back it up, and he's sliding back and forth like he's on ice, that was me and my father on the snowmobile hooked up to the car. My dad's sliding backwards, and I can hear him yelling, is she moving? And I'm sitting there going, no. And my brother's pushing the car at the same time. And my mother's is also in the car driving. She's not moving. So finally, my dad realizes, the snowmobile is not going to move my wife's car. No. So against his will, pretty much, because my mother pretty much told him, go get the tractor. And so he pretty much, almost like a little child, went, all right, I'll go get the tractor. So he went up, got the tractor, hooked her up, and pulled her out like nothing. Now, those are some comical ways that my father has come up with some very odd ideas on how to do stuff. Not saying that those are like everyday occurrences, they are not. Now, but he does have some weird ideas. And for another weird idea that he had, this one, if my father sees this video, is probably going to laugh at this one, because this has been a running joke in my family pretty much since the day it's happened. Because even my mother used to tease him about this. When we moved to this house, we used to have to haul, when we lived at our family house, we had to haul water. We didn't have town water. We lived out in the country, of course. And so we used to have to haul water. And now when we hauled water, we didn't have one of those plastic square containers that you can get today. This was an old metal tank that we used to have to haul. And this thing was big. It was about 4 feet long and 3 feet around. And she was heavy. I mean really heavy. And for years my father and mother used to, whenever they stopped hauling water, they would take the tank out of the trailer and put it somewhere outside. Well, after a while, my dad came up with the idea that I don't want to park the tank outside anymore, because the sun's going to eat it, it's going to ruin it, and I need this to last, as far as he was concerned, forever. So we thought, okay. And my mother goes, okay, what's your idea? He goes, well, I'll put it in the garage. We have a big, huge garage. And we thought, okay, we'll put it in the garage. That's no big deal. And we thought, okay, well, we'll take it out of the trailer and put it on the ground. No. My father thought, no, I'm going to put a pulley system and I'm going to have this tank dangle in the air in the back. That way you can still put stuff underneath it. That's what I'm going to do. Again, I'm like 7, 8. I might even be younger than that. And my brother is 5 years older than me, so he's 10, maybe 12, maybe. So my father creates a system, brings in the tank, puts ropes up to it, and he goes over to his end, pulls the rope, and yanks it up. Now, for my father, this was not very heavy. My father is a very strong guy. So for him to lift up his end was absolutely nothing. It was as easy as could be. And my father looked over, and there's me and my brother, and he says, okay, grab your rope. And he told the both of us, we're going to be on one side. He's going to be on one side himself. Fine. So we grab the rope. Boom. Nothing. He says, okay, well, you guys got to put your weight into it. Okay, fine. So we grab the rope, and me and my brother jump, grab the rope, and we're just there swinging away like Tarzan. The tank's maybe lifted off the ground 6 inches, and it's just swaying there like that. And so my father goes, oh, okay, let me help you guys. So he lets his end down. He goes over to our end, lifts up our end to, I don't know, probably 3 feet off the ground. So the tank's sitting there, and my father goes, okay, grab your rope. And he hands us the rope, and he hangs onto it, and he grabs his end, and he goes, okay, you guys got your rope? And we're like, yeah, we're good. And we're thinking, well, if Dad got this, all we have to do is hold it. How hard can that be? So my father, let's go, walks over, and all of a sudden you hear a big, loud bang! My father looks over, the tank's now on the ground. My father is getting ready to, well, essentially, he's getting ready to yell at me and my brother because he's thinking we let go of the rope. He turns over. Nope. He looks over, and there's me and my brother about 3 feet off the ground, swinging away like Tarzan. And we're chuckling, me and my brother. We're thinking, oh, this is cool. And my father, the minute he sees that, he's like, oh, dear God, don't let go of the rope. Come here, let me get you down. And he grabs us, and he takes us off, and he goes, oh, you guys okay? Oh, yeah, well, we're fine. As far as me, right? We're concerned. We were Tarzan and Jane. I was Tarzan. He was Jane. So my mother comes running out of the house because she sees it from the house and goes, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? And me and my brother are like, we're playing Tarzan, Mom. And my father's like, no, they're not. They're done. This is over. And my mother goes, she looks at my father and goes, yes, it's over. Well, so now what are you going to do? And he goes, well, I think I'll build a shelf to put it on instead, and I'll create a ramp that I can push it up. Or he thought, I'll tie the rope to my truck and use the truck to pull it and lift it up. And my mother looks at my father and goes, shouldn't have that been plan B? She said, shouldn't that have been plan A? And my father looks at her and goes, maybe. And he walked off and does the rope. And that's pretty much the last time and only time we ever tried to lift the tank. Yeah. How me and my brother survived, I do not know. Thank God we didn't let go because we would have landed on the concrete floor in the garage. So now, these are just some of the stories that I that I've told you about my childhood and what it was like living with my family. Now, most of these stories in my family are stories that we all laugh about to this day. We find them very funny, and I'm hoping that a lot of you find these stories funny. And if you do, I would really like it if you could, leave a comment or like the video. And if you didn't like it, again, like the video, or delike the video, and write a comment. You didn't find it funny, maybe you found certain parts of it funny and other parts were just stupid. So if you could, please comment, like, and subscribe to the video. Now before I go, there is one more story I want to tell people. Now this story happened when me, my brother, my mom and dad, we moved to the house that we grew up in. We had just moved there. We'd maybe been there for maybe a year. And what happened was, in the middle of our driveway, there used to be a rock that would sit there. And every time my mom drove by the rock, you would hear a small tink, tink, because our car sat so low to the ground. It wasn't until about, month or maybe 2-3 months later, my dad goes out to the garage and he sees a big oil spill underneath my mom's car. Well, at this time, my dad's worried because he's thinking, oh no, the car just blew up. We just moved here. We can't afford a new car. What are we going to do? So my father gets out of the car and takes a look and sees that there's a small hole, maybe about the size of a Smartie. And it's in the oil pan. My father looks at it and goes, well, what on earth that's for? And you can see where it's metal, something's been hitting it. So my father takes it off, tries to figure out what did it, and he finds it. It's the rock in the middle of the driveway. You can see where it's been scuffing on the rock. Now, my father never had to worry about that in his Chevy S10. It was up higher. So my father sees that and goes, okay, that rock has to move. So before he does that, he walks into the house, calls up my uncle, tells him to send him up a new oil pan because my uncle is a mechanic and he always has extra oil pans laying around, or he knows how to find them, or he knows how to get them. And he goes, no problem, I got one, I'll send it up to you. It'll be there in a couple of days. Perfect. Now, at the same time, my father decides we have to move this rock. So again, yells up at me and my brother, kids, come on down from playing or whatever, because it was in the middle of the day. He says, I need your help. So we go walking down there, and we put our stuff on, we go outside. There's the rock. And he goes, I just want to move this rock. Okay, no problem. We're thinking, we can only see about, this much of the rock. And we're thinking, can't be that big or that heavy. We'll move this, throw this into the wheelbarrow, and we'll be done. That's what my father thought too. He went and grabbed the wheelbarrow, we all grabbed shovels, and we started digging. And digging. And digging. And as we're digging, we're moving further and further and further away. After about, I'd say a good 2 hours of digging, we now have a rock that was probably the size of a lawnmower, a riding lawnmower. This thing was huge and heavy. So my father and me and my brother are digging this out, and my father gets out of the hole that we have done, looks at the rock and goes, I'm not going to get this into the wheelbarrow. No kidding. So my father decides, I'm going to use my truck to move it. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, why not? people have done that before. That is true. My father goes in there, starts up his truck, drives out to in front of the rock. Now, on my driveway, the driveway is partially slanted down and then it levels out. So my father's leaning down, thinking the rock's going to be easier to get it out. All right. So we attach a chain, attach it to the rock, attach it to the bumper. Me and my brother go walking down the driveway because my dad tells us, I want you down away from anything in case, it slips or whatever. I don't want you guys getting hit. No problem. So we go down there, we're standing there, my father backs up, goes forward a little bit, takes up the slack, and boom, he's spinning his tires. He's saying, okay, I need to get around it. So he backs up, accelerates, and me and my brother are standing there, and my father goes whipping by us down the driveway, and we're thinking, oh, right, Dad, you got the rock out. And he goes right by, and we look up. Where's the rock? We go walking up. There's the chain. There's the rock in the hole still. Well, that's odd. we follow the chain, and the chain stops at a bumper. No truck attached to the bumper. My dad gets out of the truck. He gets out all happy. Yeah, I got it! He looks back and he goes, where's the rock? Did it slide back in? Me and my brother pick up the bumper and we hold it. There's really nothing more you have to say. So my dad goes back to the back of his truck, looks at where his bumper used to be, and literally you can hear him. Every cuss word you can think of, he's saying it because he's just busted off his bumper off of his truck. His pride and joy, his truck. So he backs up, he gets out, he goes walking over to the bumper, he undoes it, throws the bumper across the property over towards the garage, and he's just sitting there and he's mad. You can see his face is red. And me and my brother know, don't say a word to Dad, he's mad. And at this time, again, it's like he knew that we needed him all the time. Our neighbor shows up. The same one that saved us the same one that had the 4-wheel drive truck. He shows up. This time he has a tractor. And he has one of his biggest tractor he has a cab. It's massive. Now, he comes driving up it and he goes, oh, I see you guys are trying to remove a rock. Yeah, the rock's here. My dad's like, can you remove it because it damaged my car? No problem. So my neighbor's in there with the bucket and he's removing more and more dirt because he needs to get underneath of it. So as he does that, he finally hooks it. And as he wheels it back, more dirt from up the driveway is breaking loose. We've realized that we hadn't dug up the entire rock. There's still more of it. So he brings it up and he finally starts to lift it up. And he gets it up about, 2 feet off the ground. And we're like, okay, well, me and my brother are fucking ecstatic. We're done with the work. We can fill in the hole. That's easy. And my father is also happy. So my neighbor starts to back up, and my dad starts waving his arms, going, "Hey, you should probably lift that up more." And my neighbor opens up the door on the tractor and looks at my father and goes, "I can't. The rock is so heavy that it's maxed out the hydraulics on my tractor." And at that point, my dad realized, oh, my little truck wouldn't have done shit. No, it wouldn't have. And again, that is just another story of my family. How you can have great stories, great memories. These are fantastic memories that I'll hold on forever. So, and I hope you people who watch this video enjoy these stories as well. And I hope you find them somewhat humorous. You don't have to get a big belly laugh. These are just stories that if you're, you're at home and you're having a bad day, maybe you had a bad day at work, and you just need something, a little humor, maybe just something to take some stress off. This video, I hope, can help with that. So please, subscribe to our channel, like this video, comment on this video, and if you have any more ideas of videos you want to see us do, let us know. Now, depending on how well this video does, I may or may not do another video telling stories like this. And if you do want to hear more stories, let me know. There are some more stories that I can tell. Now, so if you like it, subscribe, and I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I hope to hear from people in the comments, and have a great 2023.